1. In this topic, we'll talk about rational number operations. Now, we did talk about rational numbers in Math 6, but if you don't remember what a rational number is, what is a rational number? It is any number that could be written as fractions. So it includes decimals, fractions, whole numbers, mixed numbers, integers, natural numbers. Okay, so last year we did talk about the operation and we learned how to do fraction operations, decimal operations, and whole number operations. But in this topic, we'll study more about different groups of numbers and try to identify the differences between them. Okay, so the topic essential question is, how can the properties of operations be used to solve problems involving integers and rational numbers? Okay, so topic overview gives you 10 lessons. We'll relate integers and their opposites, understand rational numbers, add integers, subtract integers, add and subtract rational numbers, multiply integers, multiply rational numbers, divide integers, divide rational numbers, and solve problems with rational numbers. Topic vocabularies are here: additive inverse, complex fraction, multiplicative inverse, repeating decimal, terminating decimal. So these could go in the graphic organizer that we'll look at later on. So, these are some topics that are related to this topic. You can think about these before you start topic 1. Did you know that the lowest recorded temperature in the world, negative 136 degrees Fahrenheit, occurred in Antarctica? And the highest recorded temperature in the world, 134 degrees Fahrenheit, or 56.7 degrees Celsius, occurred in Death Valley, California? Wow, that's very hot, and this is very cold. The Celsius scale is commonly used for temperature measurement in most of the world. Only a small number of nations, basically the United States, regularly use the Fahrenheit scale. Wind chill, based on the rate of heat loss from exposed skin, can make it feel colder outside than the actual air temperature indicates. Wind chills in some places of the world can dip into the negative 100 degrees Fahrenheit range. So you can look at the STEM project about how cold is too cold later on in the topic. Before we begin the topic, let's start with reviewing what you know. So let's look at this vocabulary word. We have the vocabulary word bank here: absolute value, associative property, commutative property, distributive property, integers, and rational number. We're going to choose the best term from the box. Write it on the blank. The blank explains why A times B equals B times A, and A plus B equals B plus A. What type of property is that? Is it associative? Is it distributive? Associative usually includes, always includes parentheses. So if you do not see a parentheses, and you have two choices like this, you would probably say the other. But you have three properties here. I forgot. Commutative property and associative property are very similar. Distributive property also involves parentheses, but distributive property has to do with distributing something inside. So it involves multiplication. And commutative property has to do with order. If you change the order and it's the same, that is a commutative property. Associative property is when you change the order of parentheses. So for example, 1 plus 1, 2 plus 3 is the same as parentheses 1 plus 2, parentheses closed, plus 3. This is called the associative property. Okay. And commutative property says 1 plus 2 is basically equal to 2 plus 1 when you change the order. And distributive property is when you say 1 times 2 plus 1, or 3, is equal to 1 times 2 plus 1 times 3, which is also 2 plus 3. Okay? So distributive property has to do with multiplication and addition. Associative property and commutative property doesn't have to involve both. So number 1 here, A times B is equal to B times A. A plus B is equal to B plus A. What happened? You're changing the order. So this is the commutative property. Number 2, the blank of -6 is 6 because it is 6 units from 0 on the number line. How is -6 and 6 related? We're talking about the distance from 0 on the number line. And that is when we talk about absolute value. Absolute value of -6, which is notated as big bar like that, is equal to the positive number of the negative value. And if it's positive absolute value, it doesn't change. Number 3, the number 5/3 is a blank because 5 and 3 are integers and 3 is not equal to 0. This is a blank because 5 and 3 are integers and 3 is not equal to 0. So what type of number is 5/3? Is it an integer? Is it an absolute value? Is it a rational number? It is not an integer. Integer has to be a whole number. 5/3 is a rational number because it is written as a fraction. The set of blank consists of the counting numbers, their opposites, and 0. So now we already used absolute value, we used rational number, and commutative property. And so the type of number we have now is the integer. So a set of integer consists of the counting numbers, their opposites, and 0. Number 5, the sum of A parentheses A plus B plus C is equal to the sum of A plus parentheses B plus C, as explained by the associative property. Okay, and last but not least, number 6, if you evaluate n times parentheses y plus z by writing it as n times y plus n times z, you have used the distributive property. Distributive property involves both multiplication and addition. Okay, so please remember these vocab words. We're going to use it a lot in the future. Now, before we start, you need to know how to do all of these. It should be a quick review, so please take 5 to 10 minutes solving these by yourself. Okay, are you ready? Are you ready to check your answers? You're going to add the mixed numbers here. We learned about this in grade 6, right? So when you add the mixed numbers, you can either add the whole numbers and the fractions separately, or you can change them into fractions, add them, and simplify. So you can say 2 plus 6 and 1/3 plus 3/5 will give you the answer. 2 plus 6 is 8, and you want to add 8 and 1/3 plus 1/5. In order to do that, you need to change the denominators. So 3 times 5 would be 15, and 5 times 1 is 5. So 1/3 could be written as 5 over 15, and 3 over 5 could be written as 3 over 15. And so together, you should have 8 and 14 over 15. Okay, so your answer is 8 and 14 over 15. Okay, and what about number 8? Subtraction also works the same way. 9 minus 4 and 1/10 minus 3/4 could work. So if you do that, you should get 4 and 7 over 20. Number 9, decimals. 19.86 plus 7.091. Remember to line up your decimals. 19.86 and 7.091. You need to line up the decimals. So see the points that are lined up here? You need to add 1 and 0. You can annex the 0 if you need to. And add 0 and 1, 6 and 9, 8 and 0, 9 and 7, and 1 to get 26.951. Okay, number 10, 57 minus 10.62. In this case, you also have to line up your decimal points. 57 and 10.62. So in this case, 57 has a decimal point after 7, and you can annex 0 after that. Okay, and now subtracting 0 minus 2, you need to borrow 1 from 0, which doesn't have, so 7 is borrowed to become 6, and 10 becomes 9, and now you have a 10 minus 2. And then you have 8, and you have 9 minus 6, 3, you have 6 minus 0, 6, and finally 5 minus 1 is 4. So you get 46.38 as an answer. Alright, so far so good. If you got all of them correct, good job. You are ready for adding and subtracting fractions and decimals. What about multiplying and dividing fractions and decimals? If you haven't done this already, please go back and do it. But we're going to check answers now. So when you multiply your decimals, make sure you count the decimal places. You do not have to line up the decimal places like this, but you would multiply them as you would a whole number. Times 29.7. You don't have to line them up, but you can line them up by digits. And so this has 2 decimal places, and this 29.7 has 1 decimal places. So your answer should have 3 decimal places total. So if you multiply the whole numbers, 7 times 408, and 9 times 408, 2 times 408, and you add them all together, you should get 121.176. Okay, so if you add all the digits up, you will get 121.176, and you're going to count 3 decimal places from 6, your last digit, 1, 2, 3. Okay, if you don't know how to multiply decimals, please feel free to come to Miss Ting and ask questions so that you are ready for this topic. Alright, number 2, Number 12, 15,183.3 divided by 473. Again, you would divide this as you would a whole number, but make sure you keep the decimal point where it is. And that should equal to 32.1. Okay, number 13, 15 over 16 times 9 and 1/5. You would change the mixed number into a fraction. So 9 times 5, 45, plus 1 is 46. And that should give you a big number, which you can simplify. But 15 times 46 equal to 690, and 16 times 5 is 80, which will simplify to 8 and 5 over 8. Number 14, you would do the same thing. Make sure you change the division into multiplication by a reciprocal. So first step, you need to change this into a fraction. 9 times 4 plus 7 is 43 over 9 divided by 12 plus 7 is 19 divided by 12. Okay, and you can change this into a multiplication. 43 divided by 9 times 12 over 19 by using reciprocal. And you can get 43 times 12 as 516 divided by 19 times 9 is 117, which will be simplified into 3 and 5 over 57. Right, so these are the answers. Number 15, Byron has 1 and 7 over 10 kilograms of black pepper. He uses 7/8 of the pepper and splits it between 7 pepper shakers. How much pepper will be in each shaker? So you need to know which operation you need to use for this problem and figure out the answer. What did you use? So from 1 and 7/10 kilograms of black pepper, he uses 7/8. So if he uses 7/8 and splits it between 7 pepper shakers, how much pepper will be in each shaker? So out of 1 and 7/10 of a kilogram of black pepper, you're going to subtract how much he used. Wait, no. You're gonna get how much he uses. So you're gonna get 7/8 of 1 and 7/10, and he's gonna use that to split it between 7 pepper shakers. So you're gonna divide that amount by 7. So basically, you need your equation that you need to have is 1 and 7/10 times 7 over 8 divided, so times 7 over 8 divided by 7. And so the answer should be 17 over 80 kilograms. Okay, if you got all of them correct, great job. You are ready for topic 1. In the next page, you'll see graphic organizers for your vocabulary. As we go over topic 1, you will use this graphic organizer to put the new vocabulary term and put a definition and put an example so that you can easily look back at the new definitions, the new vocabularies. Okay? So just like we looked at in the beginning of this topic, we have these topic vocabularies: additive inverse, complex fraction, multiplicative inverse, repeating decimal, and terminating decimal. You can use them to put it in this graphic organizer. Okay? Alright, so that was the intro for topic 1. We'll continue with lesson